So, do you want to build a website? Well, you're in the right place. HTML is one of the three main front-end technologies that is used to build websites. HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language, and it is used to describe the structure of your website. So basically, if you want to build a website, you need to know HTML. That is the basic technology that you will be needing. So basically, HTML consists of series of elements that you see on a website. So for example, take up the Wikipedia page. So you see the brand logo, the title, the navigation, the article name, the paragraph right here. Everything is a part of HTML. Each one of them is a HTML element. So basically, HTML is the fundamental basic of a website. The good news is it is very easy to learn. So let's get started. To build a HTML project, all you need is Notepad. Here I use brackets as a code editor, and you can use it to write HTML programs. But you can just use Notepad and you'll be just fine. So here I am opening the I'm opening the brackets application. I go to File, New, and I would save this as index.html. You can give any name here, but you need to give the .html extension so that the computer will know that this is a HTML project. So HTML project must have .html extension. So make sure you give that extension, but the name can be whatever you want. Hit save, and let's start with our first HTML project. So when you are starting, you will start with the doc type declaration. So basically, in anything in HTML involves tags. Tags involves opening angular brackets and a closing angular brackets. Inside you will tell the tag name. So first I will start with the doc type. What is this doc type? This is not mandatory, but this doc type will tell the browser what version of HTML that you are using. So basically, this doc type HTML tells the browser that we are using HTML5 version. So these are the other doc type declaration for other versions of HTML, but right now we'll stick with the HTML5 version. So now every HTML file starts with a HTML tag and ends with another HTML tag. This is called the start tag, where you will have one arrow, the tag name, and the end arrow. And the end tag will look something like this, where you have an opening angular bracket, / the name, and the closing angular brackets. So every HTML has a head tag and a body tag. Let's start with the head tag. In the head tag, you would probably give the title of the page, the links to other documents. Basically, a title of the page is something that appears right here. So for this page, the title is Wikipedia, the free encyclopedia. So that's the title. So you would give title inside the head of the HTML page. You would give links to CSS file, script file, stuff like that inside the head section. And also you would give some metadata as in like description about your page, the author of the page, or the date the page is published, etc. Right now, we don't have any links to CSS or whatsoever. So right now we'll just give the title of the page. Here inside the title, I would just give some random heading. I would say first HTML project. So how do you execute this page? So if you are using Notepad, go to that folder where you have created the file, right click on the file and say open with Google Chrome, Internet Explorer, whichever browser that you are using, and you can see the output. So this is the one way of seeing the output, but since I use brackets, I can use the live preview option right here. So as soon as if I make any changes in my file, it will reflect in our page as well. So right now I'll stick with the live preview option. I will resize the screen so you can see the output as we code. Alright. Now inside the body, we can start building our first project. So here again, every HTML elements involves HTML tags. So I'm going to define a heading here using the h1 tag. I can say hello world. So as you can see, the output is directly reflected on the browser as we code. That's the feature of this live preview option right here. So there you go, your first project in HTML. That is super easy. So in the basics of HTML, I would be teaching about displaying texts. So if you want to display your text, there are two types of text that we're going to display that we are going to learn today. One is the heading and the other one is the paragraph. So let's start with the heading. So heading has under headings there are 6 types of headings, starting from H1 to H6. H1 being the most important heading and H6 being the least important heading. So let me demonstrate that for you. So I open the window right here, and I would give H2 heading 2. So as you can see the difference between the H1 tag and the H2 tag. The H2 tag, the font size is much more smaller. So you can say the one under H1 is the main heading and the one under H2 would be like the subheading. So let's move on. Moving on to H3, H4, H5 and H6. So as you can see in the output file, you have the main heading, the subheading, the sub-subheading and all the way down to H6. H6 being the least most important. So why do you need headings basically? Headings is very important in your website because the search engine would filter your page based on the contents in your headings. Suppose you are publishing a page based on flowers and some user is searching flowers on Google search engine or any other search engine for that matter. So the search engine needs to analyze pages to filter them based on the relevance for the user, right? So if your headings is all about flowers, what is flowers, the colors of flowers, stuff like that, this is what your heading is all about, then probably they would rank your page on the top 10 because through your headings, the Google search engine will know that your page is all about flowers. And it will rank higher. So basically search engine use headings to understand what your web page is all about. It won't go through each and every paragraph of your website. So yeah, that is one of the important significance of using a heading. And the second significant use of heading is for a user who is going through your website, they would usually skim the whole website through the headings. So if you have written a website on flowers, the user just want to see the types of flowers. They would directly skip to that part through the headings. So yeah, this part is really important in your website. Moving on to the paragraph. So here I would just use the same Wikipedia as the content. I will copy this. This would be the heading. So I would mark that as H1, and I would copy this paragraph and to introduce a paragraph you have to use the P tag, P standing for paragraphs. Now as soon as I save, you can see the paragraph appears right here. So this is a small website that you have already done today. Now if you see here, I'm going to have another paragraph right here. I will introduce another paragraph right here. So I want this to be as another paragraph. I want the space to be included, but if you see here, it's all comprised in one single paragraph and it is not separated by lines, right? So to include this line spaces, you need to include something called BR. BR is called line breaks. BR stands for line breaks, where the text following this would go to the next line. So the second paragraph content is pushed to the next line. You can add as many as BR tags you need to push the content further down, as much as you want. So this is one way of doing it. Suppose you want to do some drawing or something on your web page. Say, for example, you're trying to achieve something like a V shape or something like this. If you go to your website, everything goes in one line. That's it. Nothing else happens right here. So in a P tag, every space is replaced by a single space. That's it. It ignores all the other white spaces. It just takes one white space and then it will ignore the rest of them. So that's why you see the space between L and T, and you see the space between E and A. All the line breaks or the white spaces, everything is ignored by the paragraph tag. So if you don't want them to be ignored, you want it to be displayed just like that, you can use the BRE tag, and this is because of the formatting right here. Alright, so when you use a BRE tag, which stands for pre-formatted text, you can see the text that appears exactly like that. That's how you can use the white spaces. The next that we are going to see is text format. So I'm going to create a new file and I'm going to say that as text formatting.html. So the name can be anything, but you need to you need to end it with the .html extension for a HTML file. So now, as I have said before, we'll start with the doc type, HTML for the HTML version, and then HTML tag, head tag, and a body tag. Again, this is a really good feature of brackets. It would give you the closing tag by itself, so you don't have to type it separately, whereas in Notepad you might have to do that. So yeah, I'm going to give the title as text formatting, and you can see the title appearing right there. Now let's go into the body. In the body tag, first I'm going to start with the normal text. You can see it's appearing just as normal. You can use this B tag to give bold texts. Used to have the bold text, and you can have the I tag to display italics. So B is a block element. B and I are inline elements. Block elements would always appear in the new line, but the inline text would come one next to each other. They don't occupy extra white spaces than it is required. So if you want this to come to the next line, use the br tag and to go to the next line. Again, now if you want to emphasize something, say I am going out tonight, feed the cat, or is it don't forget to feed the cat. So I want this feed the cat to be very important, to be emphasized. So I can give this part alone inside the strong content. Yes, you can use one tag inside another tag. Here I'm using the strong tag inside the P tag. So yeah, this is called nested tags, where you can include one tag inside the other. So that's another concept, we'll come to it later. So now as you can see, everything is displayed normally, but this one is displayed in a bold format, indicating that this part is very important, so do not forget. So the user will not forget to read that text. Next that we're going to see is emphasis. Emphasis is kind of like emphasizing that part of it. So I'm saying this is not a drill. Sometimes you want to emphasize this not, right? So you can do that by using em tag. So as you can see, this not is kind of like emphasized in that whole sentence. It's not like urgent or important, but it's kind of like emphasized, so the user would note it down. The next that we're going to see is small. I'm giving some quotations or some kind of text here, over here. In the next paragraph, I'm going to use the small tag to describe the author of this page. Copyright by Alan, something like that. So you are giving the author information, you're giving some side comments to, so you're basically giving some kind of side comments to this paragraph, like copyright information or the author information, the published date, or some kind of a side note for this paragraph. You can use this small tag in that case. You can use sub to use for formulas. For example, H2O, that is the formula, right? You want the H to come below as a subscript. So you can do that with this sub tag. So there you go, H2O. Same way you have the superscript. Suppose you are giving a formula like a square plus b square is equal to c square or something like that. So you can do that right here. So a square would be superscript. A square plus b square, that would be superscript, is equal to c square. Again, that would be a superscript. See, you can print this formula using this super tag. So of course I have just included some of the text formatting stuff right here. There are of course other text formatting that you can see in the website, but for now I have just given the list of important text formatting that you would be mostly using on your website. So this is just the basics. Of course, if you want me to make a whole video about the text formatting styles alone, let me know in the comment section and I will make a video about that. The next thing that we are going to see is how to include links. Now I'm going to create a new file and I'm going to save it as links.html. Again, I will start with the doc type, HTML, say HTML tag, head tag, and the body tag. And inside the head tag, I will give the title as links in HTML. Okay, and if you go to this page, title right here in the top. So to include links in HTML, you will use a tag called a, and you have an attribute for the tag. What is an attribute? Attribute is something that you added within the tag. You have extra information about that tag. Suppose a itself is not enough. I'm saying a tag. Click here to go to index.html. So when I click here, nothing happens because you need to give a link to here where it needs to go to some place, right? It should have some link so that it will go to that page. So this tag needs an extra information. You specify that extra information through an attribute. An attribute would just, to define an attribute, you need to hit space and give that name equal to, inside the double quotes, you can give the value for that attribute. So here I'm going to give index.html. So as you can see, now the color changed and it's underlined. That means it is a link. Now when you click to it, you'll go to the index.html, the one that we have created earlier in this tutorial. So this is an internal file. This is like an inside file. If you want to give a link to an external file or something, say I want to give a link to this Wikipedia page, just click on the link, copy the link, and then you paste it right here. Again, you'll use a href is equal to give that link, and you have the closing tag. So in between you need to give the text. So I'll say go to Wikipedia. I hit save. Now as you can see, this is also an inline element, so it comes one next to each other. So of course, let's use the br tag. Sorry, I'm using several br tags, so it will go way down. Now when I click to this one, you can see the Wikipedia page. So basically my battery ran out and I forgot to hit record, so I had to do this all over again. Anyway, let's get started. So so now we'll be learning about images in HTML. So I'm going to insert an image inside the index.html. I'll go to the live preview option right here. So if you see, I have an image. If you go to my folder, I have an image inside the image folder called image1.jpg. So that is what I'm going to try to insert here. So to do that, you need to use the img tag. You can use src attribute to include the link to that image. So the link is inside the images folder, so I'll mention the folder, use of / to go to that image, image1.jpg. So as soon as I do that, you can see the image is inserted in our web page. Now you can give the width and height for this image by using the style attribute. I'll resize this, you can see it clearly. So here I'll say style is equal to. Now here I would give the properties like width and height. They need to be included inside the double quotes and they should be separated by semicolon. You'll see. So I'll say width 200 pixels and semicolon height 200 pixels. And you can see our image have changed accordingly. Now we can use this image as a link as well. So how to do that? So I'm going to create a new file for tables, and I'm going to save it as tables.html. So you know the drill. You know. So if you want to add a table, you need to use the table tag. So first I'll use that table tag. In a table, usually you have a row. In the first row you will have the headings, and the second row, third row would be the data. Say I have a table that contains names and contact numbers. The first one you will need the headings, name, contact number. So let's try to do that. So to include a row, you will use the TR tag, meaning table row. Inside that, on the first row, as I said, on the first row you would have table headings. So I'm going to use the TH tag that denotes table headings. So TH name, TH contact number. As you can see, since this is a heading, it comes in the bold letters. Now I'm going to add another row, and I'll give the data for this. To add the data, you should say it is TD. I'll say Abarna, and I'll give another data for my number, some random number. Okay, so as you can see, this is the heading and this is the data. Now what happens if I add another one here? I have two phone numbers, and I add another phone number here. It just goes here without, it goes to another row where there is no heading. So to say that this has two numbers, you can use a property called call span, and you can say 2. When you do that, it occupies 2 rows. Sorry, it occupies 2 columns. So now the heading occupies 2 columns. So 2 columns come within this headings. Now, you don't have to be always the headings on the top and the data in the bottom. You can mix and match. The heading can be on your left and data can be on your right. Now, to demonstrate that, I will add another table, and here we'll have a table row, and we want a heading and a data. To do that, we'll say TH name, TD Abarna. So now the headings are on the left. You can have another table row, and here TH, mobile number, and TD, some random number. There you go. There you go, you have given the headings towards the side and the columns towards the right. So yeah, that's about it. Alright, so that's about tables. Of course, there are a lot of things that you can do with this table tag, which we will not be looking at in this tutorial since it is for beginners. I don't want to overwhelm you with a lot of data. So I'm going to use a new file for that. I'll make it as forms.html, and I'll start with the doc type. So each and every form should be inside the form tag. So first I will give the form tag. Inside that, if you want an input from the user, you would use the input tag. So input, and there are a lot of different types here. You can have radio type, checkbox type, you can have text type. So there are a lot of types here. So you need to mention the type of the input that you want. So here I'm going to say type as text. I need to give a label for this. So first I'll give a label for that as name. You can also use a label tag for this, but it doesn't have to be mandatory. You can just type it right here and you can give the input value right here. Now if you want a password, so I'll say password. I can give input type is equal to password. That's it. Now let me give a break, so it goes to the next line. Now here if you type anything, you can actually see it, but in the password, if you type something, it is hidden. That's why it is given as a type as password. Now if you want to submit this form, you can use input type is equal to submit, value is equal to submit. You got a submit button. Whatever you type inside this would be the value that is printed, would be printed on inside the button. So suppose I give send, then that is how it will be changed. So the value that you give here would be displayed right here. Okay. Now if you want an email inside your form, so I'll say email. It can say input type is equal to email. Close this and give a break. Give some password. In an email, I give send. It will ask you to give an @ symbol because there are some validations that is performed here. So there is a difference between the input type text and input type email. It will not let you go unless you give a legitimate email address. Now this is just a basic validation. The rest of the other validation you need to do in JavaScript. So let me just finish that with Gmail, give this. And now if I hit send, it would try to submit this form. Since I have not given any action on what to do when the user hits submit, it would just refresh this page. It would not go anywhere. Now, similarly, you can add input type is equal to reset, and you can have the value as clear. And this will clear all the form items. So for example, I give something and I say clear, it will clear everything in your form. Again, now we'll see how to add radio buttons. So I'm having radio buttons. So here I would say gender, input type, gender, have input type is equal to radio, value is equal to male. Now this will not be displayed. You need to specifically say male. And then you need to say input type is equal to radio, value female, why do you give this value is for you to recognize what the user have selected once you are trying to process the form. So now when I click on this female, I'm able to click on this male as well. This is not right? You in radio button means you need to select only one. So to do that, this must have same names. By that I mean, you need to give name here, say gender. And you should give the same name for this. That is how the browser will know Now, after you have given the name, these both would be binded in a one input form. So you will be able to select one at a time. Now you can give select button. Suppose the user want to select one among multiple list of items, you can use the select tag. Say, let me show that. select, I would say country of residence, and inside the select we can give the options to select. Then we get the PR statement, so it will be separated. Option India, sorry, turned off the live preview option right here. So as you can see, it becomes a list of items. You can add how much ever items you want in here. Any list of items, and it would keep adding. You can select one in them. So this is an example of select button. Now next we'll be seeing text area. Suppose you want to type a bigger message, then you can use this text area. See, comments, and here I can give text area. And when I do that, this is how it basically appears. You can make it big or small by using the tags called rows and columns. So I can say rows is equal to 30. It becomes so big, so I can say 5. Columns can be 30. So you can make it as much big and as much smaller as you want, and you can just type some message in here. So this is it for the forms. There are a lot of new things in HTML5 with regards to forms, and I can make a separate video on HTML forms. Let me know in the comment section down below if you want me to make another video on HTML forms itself. It's huge. So with this, I would complete the tutorial on HTML for beginners. Of course, if you want, there is a part 2 for this video where I would discuss more of the advanced topics in HTML. So please subscribe to my channel so you will get notification when I upload the next video. Thank you so much for watching.